We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Calvin Smith with us from Meharry, and really appreciate you coming on, talking about, as you see on the screen there, we can take a few of your calls, the latest on COVID with the vaccines and the like. Let's go next to Betty, waited through the break. Betty, good morning. What's on your mind? Hi, Betty.
Thank you for, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
One thing I kind of wanted to ask, and I've always wanted somebody to give me an answer, so maybe I can get it this morning. There are so many people out there that have had one shot, and for some reason they think they're protected. So do those people that think that are going to be the people that get us in trouble this fall and winter with another outbreak?
Let's talk about the one-shotters. And I would think if someone went to get the one shot, the reason they haven't gotten the second is probably just they haven't gotten around to it. Or if they were philosophically against the vaccine, they wouldn't have gone to get the first one. So they got the first shot. They haven't gotten the second, probably because they've just been procrastinating.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. I think that, you know, if anything, they're testament that the vaccine was safe, even with one dose, 2 doses.
They have some protection from
They
that.
have some protection. So they have some protection. But to her point, I mean, the protection from what we've studied so far, protection is lower, but it's still effective. So that's the good news about it. I mean, I don't necessarily want to throw a lot of the breakthrough cases onto people who have one shot, because the literature and what we see right now is showing us that most of the cases are people that are completely unvaccinated. So I want to say that and they haven't really looked at the breakdown between those that have been partially vaccinated and those that are fully vaccinated in terms of breakthrough cases, at least from the literature that I've read.
Okay.
So with that being said, I think that, you know, they have some protection, probably not as good. I mean, it's the fact that we're having to do a booster lets you know that this protection over time does wane a bit. And so I would encourage those that have already gotten one shot, that have survived and have had no side effects. We don't have hospitals filled with people who have had side effects, Nick. I haven't heard of a single hospital anywhere where a floor even is full of people from side effects of the vaccine. We haven't seen that. So, you know, you've done well with the first vaccination. I think that you should go ahead and take that second and third vaccination.
Gotcha. Let's take a call from Ron. Ron, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah.
Hey.
I got a question for you and him about the Titan Stadium and these open air events that you're not afraid to go to. Here's the problem with it is, you got to go to the restroom. The restrooms is where they're catching this virus. So in the schools, they open the schools, the kids have got to go to the restroom, the bathroom. And if you've got that virus and you leave it in the bathroom or you wash your hands with those air blower dryers, you're going to spread that virus. That was said at the beginning of the virus, and they've shut that down now. I hadn't heard that lately. But I still think that's what is causing it to happen. But to go to these open air events and stuff, you have to stop on the way to the events if you're going from a very far place and go in a service station restroom to use the bathroom. And other people are in there and passing in and out. And that is where that most dangerous virus is probably being caught.
You were saying as much, the big packed crowd sometimes going through the gates. He makes a good point. The restrooms and the crowds, that's when you're closest with people, and that's inside as opposed to the outdoor bowl of the stadium.
That's, you know, Nick, so again, I'm wearing my mask today, 100%. So there's that part of it. I've been blessed with a pretty strong bladder. To his point, I really don't like to use the restroom when I go to the airport.
Me either.
Other places like that, because of the same reasons that Ron's mentioning. So Ron, you're hitting on some things that are very, very true. The stadium, again, like, you know, those enclosed spaces in the stadium, not necessarily, like, I'm not really happy about going and getting a hot dog, a hamburger, things like that, you know, in an enclosed. Now, where I'm going to watch the game, there's the area is a large open venue.
Open area,
So there's less concerned, but I'm going to have my mask on 100% of the time. If you see me on TV at the game that I'm going to, you'll see my big Meharry mask. I'm going to have my mask on the entire time, cheering and yelling, you know, but to that point, the bathrooms are not necessarily the safest places. And, you know, I'm one of those people watchers that watches people go in and out of the bathroom you know, if I'm in line to use the restroom or if I'm in line to wash my hands and see the number of people that leave without doing so. that makes me scared too. So I know that there's.
So you're going to make some judgments.
Yeah.
You may go, but there's certain things you won't do at the stadium. I'm going to be the same way. You know, just talking about football, I just wanted to say, as we know, several Titans players and their head football coach have been on quarantine because of exposure to COVID or having it. Now, Mike Vrabel, who had it, who's the head coach, is doing well, and he'll be back in time for the game and has been doing Zoom coverage of the team. But they gave him, what is it called again, the antibody treatment, a shot. And is that something that most people will get, or only in certain instances to help you recover? And what is it called again?
It's Regeneron, remdesivir.
You're right.
Remdesivir.
So what about that?
So, I mean, you know, remdesivir is amazingly for a monoclonal antibody. Is available to everybody, which is crazy to me because, like, cancer patients have to pay astronomical costs for the same types of medications.
Really? Okay.
I mean, like $10,000 a year or more for some of these medications that people are getting for free to treat COVID.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these medications are in fact available for a lot of people. It depends on what resources you have and where you go. Certainly in a lot of rural areas and things like that, the people that probably need it the most are not. It's not as readily available to them. But certainly the people when our previous president got sick with COVID, the works. Not ivermectin.
No, not ivermectin. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But as far as this antibody treatment thing, if for some reason it was something that we wish we could have widespread, cheap, and everywhere available, is that something that everyone who has COVID should take?
If you have the opportunity to get it, I would say at this point it's been studied as well as, or probably I wouldn't say as well as, but has been studied well enough to be safe. And
Vrabel took it and seems like he's doing well. Some of the other players, of course, he's with an NFL team, has the resources to get that. But
Governor Abbott in Texas, you know, I mean, again, as soon as he got sick, as soon as he got word that he had a positive test, jumped on all these treatments that are still not FDA approved. So, you know.
Gotta be careful with that. Let's go to Tony. Tony, good morning. Hi, Tony.
Hi.
Hey, go ahead.
Yes, I've got a question. I've got a friend of mine that is one of the one-shotters that you talk about, and they don't know what type of medication that they get a shot from. They don't know if it was Moderna or whatever. Does it matter as far as the next shot that they get? I mean, if they get the second shot, does it have to be the same?
It's a great question. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Meaning, if I had gotten my Moderna and then for some reason the second shot was Pfizer, it would have been okay?
And I remember we had a conversation about this, Nick. Doesn't matter.
Really?
Doesn't matter. So especially between the Pfizer and Moderna,
Johnson Johnson a little different.
Johnson Johnson's a little different simply because the mode of delivery for the vaccine is different. They use the inactivated virus versus the mRNA that is used for Moderna and Pfizer. So for Moderna and Pfizer, as a matter of fact, just looking at all of the literature that I looked at, all the study, I probably have overthought it a bit. I'm probably, if I have a choice between the Moderna and the Pfizer, I would choose the Moderna based on the numbers that I've seen, but I'm making kind of almost like a overthinking decision. I'm splitting hairs, exactly. Because the effectiveness, again, I want to stress this really highly, against the Delta variant, against Gamma variant, against every variant that we've seen so far, is very high. Very high effectiveness for the vaccine.
And so when you get your third shot coming up, and you had Pfizer, you'll probably get Pfizer again. And with mine,
I won't be upset about it.
It's ideally you should stick with the one you already have, or does it really honestly matter? If I have to,
honestly, Nick, and especially if I'm talking to somebody that is a one-shotter out here, I say go ahead and get whatever's available.
Well, good. And I want Tony to tell his friend, it doesn't matter, you go do that. Real quick, we'll take Joe, see if we can squeeze him in. Joe, you got about 30 seconds.
Okay. On the Johnson & Johnson's shot, what does he recommend about, I've just got the one Johnson & Johnson, and I've got a congestive heart failure. So, did he recommend getting a booster? Or?
Okay, yeah, and yeah, Joe does have a heart condition. He had Johnson & Johnson the same way.
Yeah.
That's just one shot, and now they'll need a second shot.
Yeah, and so Johnson & Johnson's booster is on the way to approval.
Yep.
Moderna's is on the way to approval. So, if you feel more comfortable getting the Johnson & Johnson, or you had Johnson & Johnson first and want to get Johnson & Johnson booster, that's perfectly fine. But any of the boosters really, I'm here to advocate that any of the boosters is going to be effective.
Any of them.
It doesn't matter what the, if you think about those that do get flu shots, if you think about who you get your flu shot from, you don't look at the manufacturer any longer.
No.
It doesn't matter. And we're getting to that point with this because the science is being shared. We in the scientific community, we love to, this is one thing that people really don't understand about science is when we see an article, we have journal clubs, we read these articles, we look at them and compare them to our patient population and really do our due diligence in making sure that what they're talking about would translate to our audience. And so, and when we talk about these vaccines, one of the things that we talk about in our group is how remarkably effective it's been for every version of it. So.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Do you just think, last question as we wrap things up, do you think it's likely that as we move down the road with the coronavirus, it will be treated like the flu is every year, and that this may be something that every year we have to go get a shot for?
It's looking to be, unfortunately, and if you recall from our other conversations, I didn't think so. Yeah. But it's looking to be that way.
Maybe because as it changes, but you put it in the same category as the flu. Every year we get a flu shot because it changes. Yeah. So go that same route then, perhaps.
Yeah. I want us to make sure that we know it's a lot worse when you get it than the flu. But I think I think that we're headed towards something like that, and we didn't really necessarily have to go there, which just kind of makes me.
I know. I know how you are, but I agree with you 100%. Listen, thank you for coming on. It is awesome seeing you, man. And we'll have to do it again. Now I know you're a Falcons fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Titans fan. We'll talk more football. That's great. Well, I mean, be safe on that. Your advice on that's interesting, and I'll take that to heart as I decide what games I go to this year.
And I'll be truthful with your audience, Nick. No matter what happens, if I test positive, I'll let them know. If I get a breakthrough case, I'll let your audience know because I'm transparent that way, and I believe very strongly in the science.
I will, and I'll be open with it. And hopefully, if either of us get a breakthrough, because we've had the vaccine, it won't be something that's fatal.
Yes.
So. Pleasure having you on, Calvin Smith. Dr. Calvin Smith. We'll see you again soon if you're willing to come back on. We'd love to keep doing this.
Always.
All right, a pleasure. Listen, we'll take a break. I'll have a programming note right after this. Stay with us.